got to have a safe environment where you seek first to understand before you seek to be understood. And then a beautiful, remarkable thing happens. When you take the time for them, they'll take the time for you. Hi, this is Rich Christensen. We're on the second video of connecting and communicating with your children, your family, and your loved ones. Last video series, we talked about the challenges and the problems and how if we don't have values that we root back to, we end up just basically bumbling around in the forest, which is what most of us do, tragically. This video, we're going to talk about meeting kids at their level, about taking time to understand them and their environment and the world and the way that they're lensing up or the perspectives they have of the world. We need to make sure that we create an environment that's really loving and tender and safe in order for them to do it. The reality is most of the time, we as adults, like I said last video, we're nothing more than 5-year-olds and we run around imposing our broken old frames on our kids. I think the first thing we have to do is take the time to slow it down, take a couple of breaths, and take the opportunity, whether it's your 3-year-old, whether it's the 7-year-old, or whether it's your teenager, to see what they're looking at and seeing. I absolutely love to walk up to my little grandson or my little granddaughter now and say, "What you doing?" And I throw that little "doing" on the end. "What you doing?" And then look at the world in the frame of their beautiful little exploring and discovering eyes. Most of the time, we tend as adults, "Oh, get out of that mess. Oh, you and I shouldn't be in the chicken coop, Joseph." A couple of weeks ago, we were tending my precious little 2-year-old grandson, Joseph Richard. I have to put the name Richard on the end because I'm named Richard. They named him after me. And this little boy only has 2 questions. It's, where am I not supposed to go? And how do I get there? That's the only 2 questions he has. He is curious, and he is always in some sort of trouble, kind of like his grandpa most of the time, actually. And so I'm tending his little sister Anna's diaper, and all of a sudden I hear my chickens just going crazy, block, 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 block. And I walk out there. Somehow this little boy had managed to lift up the egg layer, crawl down underneath, crawl through the roosting house, crawl in, get all of the chickens corralled, lock the door, and eyeball to eyeball, he was throwing chicken poop in their own poop in their eyes. And my big chicken Zuzu looks at me like, wait, this wasn't part of the deal. My first tendency was to scold him and get after him and, "Joseph, get out of there, you can't, what are you doing to the chickens?" But I didn't. I went in and I said, "Joseph, what you doing?" And he looked at me with his big eyes and he says, "Chickens, eggs." He was just exploring and discovering. Take a look at what your 3 or 4-year-old is doing. It actually may totally fascinate you, the worms in the ground, the little caterpillar falling along. Just take a moment or 2 to actually sit with your grandkid and understand them. I think it's very different actually for your teenagers. It's very different for your 9-year-old. Maybe meeting them at their level and understanding what they're going through. When you hear thump, thump, thump on the wall, and the 5th time you go, "Don't throw the ball in the house." Thump, 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 still ball. They go, "Don't throw the ball in the house." How many of us have been through that, at least if you have little boys? What's really going on? Ask them, "What you doing?" Well, and maybe they'll say, "You know, I always throw and miss, and I'm just trying to get a little better arm." Maybe that's a little different outcome than, "Hey, I'm relieving stress here, and I'm all sorts of stressed out." But until you take the time to understand, my mentor was Stephen Covey, one of my mentors, and he taught this beautiful principle. Always seek to understand before you're understood. But yet we as adults, we're so horrifically bad at doing that. We get all tied up in our frame and our ego and raw. Where our kids actually aren't ego tied up. A lot of times they're still a lot more in soul mode, and we can actually learn a ton from them and make life more enjoyable. I love to do things with my kids, and quite frankly, I know we're going to cover this a lot more next video, but the reality is I love to be with my kids. They're amazing souls. Not only are they amazing souls, they're actually my best friends from deploying these amazing principles we're talking about. So my son, Timothy Tyrus, I'm very proud to announce that I'm level 36 Pokemon Go trainer. Now, does that mean I love Pokemon Go? No, but my son, Timothy Tyrus, loves Pokemon Go. And so we took that interest and met him at his level. Alex loved Frisbee golf. So I took a level, and man, for an old man, I whipped that Dick's pretty darn good, I'm here to tell you. But the real joy comes, the amazing joy comes, when I get the invitation. And it typically goes like this. Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad. Let's get real. I'm down for some Frisbee golf if you are. That's the conversation that took place 2 nights ago from my 18-year-old son that just wanted to go throw a disc with his dad. And guess what? We had a real delightful chat. We had a real beautiful, delightful chat about things that I think most kids don't even dare think about telling their parents. Yep, we talked about girls and the relationship and what was going down with all the chickas. And bump, bump, bump. Alex, one throw away from parring that darn course, which was one of his records. And rather than subvert and go down, oh, you beat me, we celebrated that. And we brought that forward, and he got to be the man. You've got to create an environment of safety for your kids. And it doesn't matter whether it's a 2-year-old in your chicken coop, a 3-year-old drawing on your walls, which happens a little bit too regularly in our house, I'm sad to say. Solution, hide the markers, put them high. Your 9-year-old who is dancing Barbie all around the house or throwing balls on the wall, or your teenager and the music they're listening to. You've got to have a safe environment where you seek first to understand before you seek to be understood. And then a beautiful, remarkable thing happens. When you take the time for them, they'll take the time for you. All right, so I was going to save all the fireworks and the good fuel for next video, but I just simply can't help myself. I've absolutely got to share at least one just little killer trick with you right now before we jump into the last and final video sequence on this. And here it is. You've got to figure out the timing of your kids. It's all about timing. At what points are they able and willing and in a good mode to communicate with you? What I've discovered is right when my sons get home at the very end after an evening with their kids, they're really open. So although, quite frankly, I don't want to be awake at 12:15, I'm awake at 12:15 and I'm actively listening because they're willing to really process some of the hard things and complexities going on. And I'm here to tell you where we started on that first video, there's a lot of complexities. There are indeed with teenagers that are going through all those fears. You have rights and you should be terrified what's going on out there. Most parents are just dumb and stupid and happy and don't want to know about it. But I tell you, you need to know about it. So find the times that the kids communicate and want to communicate. Don't go force not only their activities and being curious about them, but you've got to find the times that they're most likely to communicate with you. Is that right as they're rushing out of the door and they're late to school? Probably not. And the second tip I'll give you here is you've got to actually prioritize this. Most of the time we get so caught up in our darn frames of life and our little crises and our little issues that you've actually got to allocate and create some white space, some safe space for it that you're not taking your, never mind, son, I can't talk to you right now about your girlfriend and maybe what's going on there because I've got an important call that's coming in. The president of blah, blah, blah is calling me. Blah, blah, we'll get back to that in a minute. How's that going to sort out? You got to actually make sure that they're indeed truly the priority and you create the white space to actually have the communication. Whether that's over a meal, which I've found really effective, whether that's as you're driving to a preformed activity, which I've found really, really effective, whether that's going to an event or activity that they have a strong passion or interest, or whether it's the timing of when they get home at night as a teenager. Find out the timings that they cue really effectively. All right, well, I spent a little bit of the fuel on this one, but in the next video, we're going to absolutely have a blast. In the next video, we're going to talk about your children and your young children, your middle children, your teenage children, and maybe even your grown children. Some of the things you can do to actually help heal the relationships, and tactical actions, just like the one I gave you, that can you actually take to accelerate healing, that can help unify. Again, it always boils down to the values, that you can drive back to the values, and you can accelerate the growth and a level of communication and connection with your children. All right, I'll see you on the other side in the next video. I'm really excited for this next one.